Alright, welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about shooting with the Bolta Photavit III. This is a tiny little camera. I love this thing. Now I'm not going to be going over all the details and the features of it because I did that in a different video. So today, it's all about loading it and shooting it. So once I did get some film in there, decided to take it into the studio, do a couple portraits, go out into the streets, do some street photography, and really just see what I could get out of it. But there's one thing about this camera, is the film situation. So it used Bolta film, which was essentially a cartridge that you'd put in the back of the camera, and I don't have that. But I figured I could DIY something, because the film that it used was the size of 35mm. But apparently it had a paperback, kind of like in a spool just like this, or similar. But I didn't have that, and I don't have the film. I did look into it, but you can only buy it in bulk. So I just figured, let me just DIY something. So first off, I wanted to create some spools. Now the 35mm fits, but I had to take the top off to actually let it fit in vertically. But there's also a problem of the diameter being too wide. So, took some spools out of the 35mm canister, had to cut them down, shave them, create some notches so that the film advance lever would advance the film. But I was pretty sure I could make this work. Once I got the spools to fit, now right there you can see that it looks like it's gonna work. You know, all I gotta do is attach the film, get it onto those spools. So I'm gonna put it all into a dark bag, of course, little dark room, double zip bag, no light gets in, and it was time to load the film. Once I got the film developed, I asked them to keep the spool and everything because I'm going to need that for the future. But I got my film back and I got some pictures. It worked. It really did. I was so excited about this. The one thing that I did want to mention with the film is that I used some expired film. You know, this was just a test, so I just figured I'd use some film I didn't really mind if it went bad. But you can see the color change is pretty extreme. This is what normal film about would look like. And here's some examples of old film that basically has huge color shifts, right? And it can range, obviously, from everywhere from that pink to the yellow to the green. But anyway, back to the film. Now, I noticed it was so strange that the frames seemed like they were really separated. I did read that you only get about like 10 frames out of one of their rolls, and I was kind of surprised at that. But now looking at it, I can see why. For how small the camera is, I wouldn't have thought that the frames would have to be separated that much, but, you know, that's fine. Alright, so then once I did get everything in, I got it scanned, now it's time to actually go over taking the photo. So getting into the studio, had a model just sit in for a couple shots, and I wasn't sure if I was going to get anything. But there it is. It does look like I have a little bit of a double exposure, but these are beautiful. Now there really wasn't enough light. I was just using the modeling light on a flash unit, so I could have bumped that up and probably could have gotten a little bit more detail out of this, but that is beautiful. Now the one thing too was I was having a hard time advancing the film and getting the frame rates or the frames just right, and then I got a double exposure. But still kind of cool, you know, still kind of cool. So one thing about this particular camera is the shutter is really sensitive. There's times that it started going off on its own, so I did get some, you know, double exposures, but also just some accidental shots. And you can see here, I loaded it up, but then right there, it went off. And I didn't even advance the film, so I was struggling a little bit, but still having a lot of fun. Now this shot, I was really bummed that it didn't turn out. Had it all set up, got my little tripod stand, But I got nothing. I don't know, the shutter seemed like it moved, but I didn't get any frame from that one. Then I take it down to the subway, and right there, the shutter only halfway releases. So that didn't turn out either. So I figure at this point I probably have like 2 frames left on the film, about. So I started to get set up for another shot, and then it just went off by itself. So that frame ended up getting ruined. So I've got 1 frame left. I tried to make sure this was right, got it all set up, making sure my shutter doesn't go off, and you know, find a little stand, and then alright, so there it is. Those are the shots that I got. I was so excited to take this out. It was really fun. And the fact that I could even get some images out of it, granted, very DIY, very run and gun, not technically sound by any means. And again, I threw so many variables at this camera. The old film, shooting from the hip, not enough light in the studio, but hey, got some pictures out of it, and from here I can only fine tune it, right? So, really cool stuff. And so small and so unassuming that when I was out, nobody was really noticing, which I always kind of appreciate. But yeah, love this thing. If you find one, definitely pick it up, because apparently you can shoot with it. Alright guys, well, happy shooting, and thanks so much.